regardless of the outcome today, it will be a historic one as Virginia will name its first female governor. The Democrat in this race, former Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger, is seeking to return the governor's mansion to her party after 4 years of Governor Glenn Youngkin at the helm. Virginia does not allow consecutive terms, so he has campaigned alongside his Republican Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears to become his successor. Both candidates gave their final pitches last night.
I'm not going to be able to stop everything, every bad policy coming out of Washington. I want to be truthful about that. But we need a governor who is working tirelessly to mitigate every harm that might be caused by a reckless and chaotic administration.
Abigail should have said something, but she didn't. Politically cunning is this woman. She has failed us. We cannot have her. Abigail is for Abigail. Abigail is not for Virginia. And so I hope you will elect me again as governor. I will not fail you.
So Earl Sears, if she is able to push past the lead in polling that Spanberger has held, she will become the first black woman in the nation to lead a state. President Trump last night joined a tele-rally for the entire Republican ticket.
Issues are still in play. They're very close, including governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and the legislature is all up and vote Republican. And, you know, if I just cover one subject, your energy prices will go way down as opposed to your energy prices going through the roof. But they're going to raise your taxes, and the crime will be rampant. The crime will be totally horrible. They'll be protecting the violent perpetrators. They'll be protecting the violent people that caused the crime.
Now, the president also accused Virginia Democrats of protecting Attorney General candidate Jay Jones, who was not asked to drop out despite past text messages showing he fantasized about the shooting deaths of a political opponent and his children.
Their candidate for Virginia Attorney General is as our great governor said, he's a demented person, radical left maniac named Jay Jones. Virginia cannot allow someone with dreams of committing murder to become the Commonwealth's top law enforcement officer.
But that attorney general's race, it is the tightest in the Commonwealth, with Jones and current attorney general Jason Miyares, the Republican in this, neck and neck right now. We talked to Miyares yesterday. He said today's election is a test of decency.
Come in.
You need to see me.
Oh,
We have a seat.
Do I have to?
You know, I know that I like to fool around at work. So from now on, what I would like you to do is just tell me, you know, when and if I cross the line.
Okay. Now.
What?
Because you're naked.
Not naked. Can you see my
True.
Listen, let's just cut to the chase. All right, mister?
Could you do the,
Jerry, you are banned from making memes for 24 hours. You get a meme ban, Jerry. That's on I don't ever want to see Hillary Clinton as Jennifer Aniston face swap again, wearing sexy doctor outfit. I don't want to see it. I don't need it. I don't want it. Oh, baby. Okay. Having a tough enough time sleeping already right now. Please, I'm begging you, Jerry, never again. Never again. I'll do anything. I'll do anything today, Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. It's election day, but more importantly, it is a massive, massive bombshell day for the Republic, because James Comey was just blown out of the water. The doors have been blown off of the deep state. Proven liar James Comey hid his crimes in burn bags at the FBI. He never thought we'd find out. And it turns out that James Comey, who was covering up for Hillary Clinton using an illegal email server, used an illegal email server himself. That he knew about all of the crimes of the Hillary Clinton campaign, that he assisted in them. And ladies and gentlemen, his rat-like allies in the media, the press, and the FBI deep state, they all tried to hide the evidence, bury the evidence. James Comey lied under oath. It is provable. We will prove it today. in Comey-mageddon. That would have been a great graphic, Klein. I'm going to get that one next. Well, give me a sound effect at least. Comey-mageddon. That was weak, Klein. That was weak. We're going to work on it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to work on it. All right. It just says boom. Okay. All right. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. How about we do the applause? Comey-mageddon. Still weak. Still weak. I thought that'd be like roar. We'd do roaring. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Comey-mageddon. Okay, I'm done. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be joined by John Solomon, the great John Solomon, Julie Kelly, who's been doing the Lord's work on this issue, Darrell Issa, who is icing the deep state and always has been and is hot on the trail in Congress, and Mark Mitchell to talk about polling in the great state of New Jersey and Virginia today. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. There is a big move going on in the Johnson household right now. Not a lot of sleep taking place, got to tell you. Up and down, up and down. This is the way that it is with kids. This is the way that it is when you're on the move. Frankly, I'll be back out on the road for a number of days this week, and it just is what it is. Yeah, I know. Producer's telling me my mug isn't shot. Yes, that is because I'm absolutely redlining on as much coffee as I possibly can. But when I get home and I want to drift off to sleep, Beam is what takes me there. Their delicious chocolate cocoa powder is what I use in order to mix with a hot beverage and drift right off to sleep. And right now, folks, there is a massive cyber sale going on for Beam. For my listeners, it's best offer of the year. Right now, my listeners can get 50% off with the code Benny Show, and you can grab Dream Sleep for just $32. That breaks down to $1 per night. For the best sleep of your life, go to shopbeam.com/Benny Show and use the code Benny Show. Don't miss out. This is the lowest price Beam has ever been sold anywhere, and they'll sell out quickly. They're packed with the ingredients that your body needs to sleep. All of the various types of sweet melancholy things I can't pronounce. it's all of the ingredients in Beam, even melatonin, that mixed together makes sure that you have an all natural knockout to make sure that you're also not left groggy. So go to shopbeam.com/Benny, use the code Benny Show, and get 50% off the Beam Cyber Sale. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go. We have a massive show today. It is a monster show that will include some of our favorite guests in the whole world, including, but not limited to, John Solomon being live for the first time. The first time. So we are going to rock, we are going to roll, and we are going to talk James Comey. Let's go here to just the news. Comey is someone who is such a liar, and he decided to make a motion in court saying that there was a malicious prosecution against him, and that malicious prosecution is bringing him a lot of sads. And the court then is given the opportunity to the Trump administration to respond to that malicious prosecution motion. And the Trump administration responded with what could be described as a tactical nuclear bombshell strike deep in the heart of the mountains of Iran. It is so devastating what they released on James Comey. It, quite frankly, defies any type of hubristic logic as to how these people thought they'd ever be able to get away with it. James Comey straight up wrote on his notes, his handwritten notes, pop them up. These are notes that have been released by Lindsay Halligan here. Public response to James Comey's motion to dismiss the indictment against for vindictive prosecution. Exhibit 13 includes bombshell damning evidence. FBI director's own handwritten notes on FBI letterhead evidencing James Comey with knowledge of and participation in the Russian collusion criminal conspiracy hoax against Trump. You can see this right here. Hillary Rodham Clinton line 3, down line 3, maybe ALX. Why don't we get it where we can like actually put a little red block around it? Because it's hard to actually read his notes. But you can see right here, plain as day, Hillary Rodham Clinton will plan to tie the Russia collusion hoax to Donald Trump. This is, of course, important because obviously we are undermining Hillary Rodham Clinton with her email scandal, and this is something that may well lead to a larger conversation about Hillary Rodham Clinton's health problems, which were disastrous at the time. So this is the full well, and the date is critically important here, 9/26/16. This is September, approximately 40 days before the presidential election cycle in 2016. And JB means Joe Biden, most likely. Maybe John Brennan, potentially. And more importantly, what the hell is this going down here? Kerry. Who is that? Who is that? Is it John Kerry? Who is this? You know, this is like a fascinating historic document. Surely this was preserved somewhere where it was easy to find. Nope. This was actually in a burn bag hidden inside of a secret compartment inside of the FBI, deep in the bowels of the FBI. This is a devastating report that shows that James Comey has been lying repeatedly to Congress about his knowledge of the Russia collusion hoax, and then that they tried to destroy the evidence. Furthermore, James Comey has been trying to leak to the New York Times. Voluminous records show that he used a burner Gmail with an alias called Reinhold Neighbor. Got it? Reinhold Neighbor. And he would constantly be pushing classified information to be laundered through corporate media outlets. This was something that he was regularly doing, in spite of the fact that, one, this is illegal, and two, he was lying to Congress about it. This is obviously what he is being indicted for. And ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like there's going to be superseding indictments. Let's read from just the news. Federal prosecutors revealed Monday they've unearthed a trove of personal emails showing FBI Director James Comey openly talking days before the 2016 election that he expected to be working for soon President-elect Hillary Clinton. This is why James Comey decided to tilt the scales of justice in order to curry favor with the Queen. God does indeed have a sense of humor and irony, doesn't he? And was being kept apprised by top FBI aide on efforts to anonymously provide information to the news media using a burner email. The irony is so delicious and so rich and so dripping, you get diabetes from it. Well done, my friend. Who knew this would be so fun, says Comey in early November 2016 email to then FBI Special Government employee Dan Richmond, briefed the FBI director on Richmond's effort to provide information and guidance to the New York Times, an article proving the Clinton email scandal. The emails were referenced in a bombshell court filing by acting U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan and her deputy Tyler Lemons, in which the government rejected Comey's argument for being maliciously prosecuted and misleading Congress as FBI director. Halligan cited the attached to the filing numerous emails in which Comey was clearly aware that Richmond was working to provide information anonymously to news outlets on the Clinton email case, and he expected the outreach efforts to end with Clinton defeating Donald Trump in the 2016 election. Someday they will figure it all out and point to my decision. This will be one a President-elect Clinton will be very grateful for, although that wasn't why I did it, Comey wrote Richmond. So here's Comey straight up saying, I am using my position as FBI director to elect Hillary Clinton. In his own damn writing. Why has it taken 8 years to get these emails? I don't know. Clearly, the FBI was trying to destroy them. As we know, these are the emails, these are the documents that were discovered inside of burn bags inside of the FBI, prepared to be destroyed. They were shoved inside of these burn bags while President Trump was being inaugurated in 2024. There was an active operation to hide this evidence. We need to know who did that. That was not James Comey. Someone entered a room at the FBI and hid and stashed this away. Huge, huge credit to FBI leadership, Bongino, Patel, in order to get these documents up and out for the American people. Halligan's filing says the emails showed Comey was aware of and encouraging Richmond's contact with the media. Consistent with the above described correspondence, Richmond corresponded extensively with members of the media regarding the behalf of the defendant, the DOJ said. You can read the filing here. Comey is charged with making false statements and obstructing Congress concerning a testimony in 2020, which led, in which he stood by earlier, anonymous leaks to news media in high-profile cases. The now debunked plot to tie Trump to Russia. Richmond, a former DOJ official and current professor of law at Columbia University, who must be sweating absolute bullets right now, was assisting the FBI during the 2016 election, and it was already public knowledge that Richmond later assisted Comey by leaking the Comey memos to the New York Times. Motivating the leak, Comey's desire to prompt the appointment of a special counsel to carry the Bureau's Trump-Russia investigation. This is obviously something that Comey did do. Now we have the full evidence, and more importantly, we have the cover-up. It's the cover-up that always gets you, dude. Comey was using a secret server in order to carry out official FBI business. This is precisely what they were trying to indict Hillary for. This is what got Hillary in such trouble. Isn't it rich? Isn't it something that is just delicious? Again, you get diabetes. It's so sweet. Monday's court filing raised the possibility that prosecutors will argue Comey misled Congress about other elements of his testimony. So these are superseding indictments. Whether he was aware of U.S. intelligence to intercept that Clinton had provided a plan to smear Trump as a Russian agent. The court filing revealed prosecutors have specific handwritten notes hidden in a secret room at the FBI indicating that Comey was aware of the intelligence. The discovery of the handwritten notes is relevant considering the defendant's prior testimony that, of note, during the hearing, the defendants, this is James Comey, questioned by Senator Graham of South Carolina and Senator Hawley of Missouri. The questions focused on whether the defendant remembered being taught the U.S. presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's approval plan concerning Donald Trump, slandering and smearing him as a Russian. And the defendant responded stating, "It doesn't ring a bell with me. I don't know what that refers to. I don't remember receiving anything that describes the letter." Despite this testimony, the defendant's handwritten notes dated December 6, 2016 says, Hillary Rodham Clinton plan to tie Russia collusion to Trump. Please put up the document one more time and show the people. There it is. Now, this is very curious, by the way. You can see up there, scratched out at the top of the document is Mitch. What is that exactly? What is Mitch? You can see scribbled right there. This is James Comey's scribbles. These are James Comey. This is James Comey's own hand. What is Mitch? I've been poring over this since 5 a.m. this morning. I've done multiple calls with Julie Kelly to interpret all of this, and Julie Kelly will be joining our show live, along with John Solomon, along with Daryl Issa and Mark Mitchell, absolute experts on all of this. You will learn, you will get such an education on this program. We're so excited for it. But ladies and gentlemen, Mitch is not Mitch McConnell. That's my initial instinct. It's just, a boy can dream, right? And I'll put Mitch McConnell in jail too. You can jail him in the Galapagos Island with the rest of the turtles. What I'm saying is that this is actually the code name for a guy named Stephen Harper. This is what many sleuths have been advising me about. Stephen Harper is one of those foreign dignitaries. Halper, yes, correction there. Stephen Halper. Not a lot of photos exist of this guy, by the way. Perhaps we could pop one up. Stephen Halper. It's one of those shady-ass foreign diplomat guys, there he is, who was responsible for the laundering of the dossier. So what they did was they took these greasy, addicted, degenerate, filthy slobs inside of the foreign embassy circles, and they used them in order to merchandise this. I mean, look at this guy. There we go. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the penguin. This is exactly right. This is correct. This is the penguin, Colin Farrell's penguin. They use Stephen Harper, who is an Australian, and one of these guys connected to the diplomatic circles in order to launder Hillary Clinton's filthy oppo on President Trump, to give it the illusion that this is coming from an allied country. wow, the Russians said this, blah, blah, blah. Alexander Downer, the same thing. So what's fascinating, and I don't know have this confirmed, I look forward to asking John Solomon about it. What is Mitch? What is this up there that James Comey scribbled out? This is fascinating. What's he doing here? Why is he crossing that off? He doesn't want people to see it. This is the FBI director's own stationery. So JB is either Joe Biden or John Brennan. They're talking about the famous briefing where they're asked in order to walk rank and file with a Hillary Clinton oppo plan brought to them by Barack Obama, the sitting president, in order to frame Trump as a Russian asset. It was all a lie. It was all filth straight from the pit of hell. It was the literal definition of the wrap-up smear. And all of the intelligence agencies were in on it. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the very definition of rigging an election. It is precisely the vindication that President Trump has been looking for, as President Trump has described how the deep state rigged the election against him for the better part of a decade now. And he has been proven correct in the handwriting of James Comey today. Let's continue to read. Richmond previously admitted to agents in interviews that he routinely communicated on behalf of Comey with the New York Times and other reporters. This is, of course, illegal. James Comey is leaking. You're not allowed to do this as an FBI director. James Comey is leaking information. The goal, as Richmond told the FBI, was to correct stories critical of Comey, to shape future press coverage. It was done outside of the Bureau's official press office, which is, again, against the rules of the FBI. Richmond was pretty sure he did not launder classified information, but he's not sure about that. Richmond told interviewers that he was sure with a discount. What does that even mean? That he never gave out classified information. So now here's Comey leaking classified information. There's a much larger statute of limitations on that. So you have James Comey on the 5-year statute of limitations line to Congress. Cool. He could face 10 years in prison for that if convicted. But more importantly, you're going to get superseding indictments here. Because what they're setting up is that James Comey was leaking classified information, that he was breaking FBI rules, and that he was breaking, effectively, the FBI. Splitting it in two. Casting the illusion of it being a law enforcement agency to the wind for President Hillary Clinton, who would be appreciative of his help in smearing Donald Trump. Just laying right open. It's the biggest, one of the biggest bombshells of our time. Comey made a public speech exonerating Clinton criminally in July, but alerted Congress in October 2016 further Clinton emails had been found at the FBI, searched on a laptop belonging to Anthony Weiner. We've still never seen that laptop. So many people have very interesting things to say about what's truly on that laptop. Where is it right now? That is something that perhaps we should start asking. I'm going to. After the defendant sent the October 16 letter, emailed extensively with Daniel Richmond, the DOJ said on Monday in a court filing, much of the correspondence occurred via the defendant's use of a personal email account and Richmond's use of an account associated with Columbia University. Make sure you keep your eyes shut. The country can't seem to handle your finding stuff, Richmond wrote on Comey. This is amazing email. Look at this. Make sure you keep your eyes shut when it comes to looking for criminality in Hillary Clinton's emails. The country can't seem to handle your finding stuff. Comey replied, thanks for the battling that you have done against unreason. This is a strange time, but we press on. Comey's such a weirdo. The next day, Richmond sent Comey an email about an opinion piece that he'd asked to write for the New York Times, Comey's letter to Congress. Richmond stated that he is not inclined to write something, but he would do it if Comey would help him do it. Fascinating. Comey, of course, did. No need at this point. It would be shouting at the wind. Someday they will figure it all out. And my decision will be one that President Clinton will be very grateful for. The DOJ said on Monday that Comey appears to have reconsidered that view shortly thereafter and pointed to Comey's lengthy email to Richmond the next day. Goodness gracious. So effectively, this is Comey using the full and total weight of the FBI in order to rig the election. Wow. All of it, of course, shoved deep into the bowels of the FBI, hidden away so no one can ever find it. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking this news, John Solomon, he'll be on our show momentarily, but John Solomon is breaking it all down beautifully here in this 90-second clip that effectively goes through what crimes they may well charge Comey with. That's what I'm very, very interested in, and what new information we just got out of this nuclear bombshell from the Trump administration.
Yeah, listen, there are 5 bombshells in this. First, the reason we have this is that James Comey decided to play the victim card, say, I'm a victim of vindictive prosecution. That opened up the door for Lindsay Halligan and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel to unleash some of the evidence. And what does James Comey get confronted with? His own personal emails and handwritten notes. And I emphasize personal because the first big revelation here is, while directing a campaign to sort of massage the media or spin the media on how the way he handled Hillary Clinton's personal email case, he used personal email himself to do government business. You can't lose the irony of that. Secondly, it is very clear that he expected Hillary Clinton to win and that she would one day be, quote unquote, grateful about the way he handled her email case. So he has a political motive that we never saw in writing before. That's really significant. Third, it is clear, despite his testimony to the contrary, he directed Daniel Richman and approved his working anonymously with news media, even though he testified to the contrary, specifically with phrases like, good job, my friend, when Daniel Richman would report to him what he spun the New York Times on, or I hope you make them smarter, clearly advocating that he would talk to the New York Times and change their reporting on the story. 4, we now know that some of these documents that they found were found in the burn bags and in that secret room that Kash Patel talked about a couple of months ago. And 5, and perhaps most consequentially, there are indications in these filings, Sean, that there are other contradictions in James Comey's testimony, including when he said he couldn't recall, didn't remember, didn't think it was possible. He knew the U.S. had intercepted a Hillary Clinton plan to hang a Russian shinkle on Donald Trump. His own notes showed he knew about it. So you have some other contradictions that prosecutors could come back with in a superseding indictment or some other action. So a bad day for James Comey. He was hit by a boomerang today.
Boom. A rang. John Solomon joining our show momentarily. Very excited. It was our first time to have John Solomon on the program. A reminder, by the way, that God does have a ridiculously ironic sense of humor. Most good humor is ironic, and it sort of is salty, sweet at the same time. James Comey, in what seems like a lifetime ago, being invited on the speaking circuit, bragging about Michael Flynn and about how he was able to entrap General Flynn with his FBI. He was able to do so because he broke the rules of engagement with the White House, and he attacked the administration and the president that he was supposed to be working for. President Truman famously said, if you want a friend in Washington, D.C., get yourself a dog. James Comey is himself a snake. Here we go.
Both of those administrations, there was process. And so if the FBI wanted to send agents into the White House itself to interview a senior official, you would work through the White House counsel, and there'd be discussions and approvals and who would be there. And I thought, it's early enough, let's just send a couple guys over. And so we placed a call to Flynn, said, hey, we're sending a couple guys over. Hope you'll talk to them. He said, sure. Nobody else was there. They interviewed him in a conference room at the White House Situation Room, and he lied to them. And that's what he's now pled guilty to.
What did he think they were coming over there for?
I don't think he knew. We didn't tell him.
Pride comes before destruction. That's what the psalm says. That's what the psalmist says. And this is destruction. Make no bones about it. There's no getting out of this, man. Just one more, because we can't help ourselves. It was just months ago that James Comey was joking about Trump going to jail. Again, the irony so sweet, dripping with so much high fructose corn syrup that it'll give you diabetes. Part 2, ladies and gentlemen. You won't even need Snap for this one. Here we go.
So a lot of people have suggested that there are a range of factors that would make it difficult to put the system has not been tested in this way. Do you agree with that it would be difficult or nearly impossible for the law enforcement institutions to put him in actual jail?
No, they would just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population, but it's obviously doable.
Comey in a jumpsuit is what we're looking for. How quickly can we do that? I know it's on the cover image. Give me that Comey in a jumpsuit. I know we have AIs of that. I just can't believe this dude is out there fantasizing and fetishizing President Trump in prison. And now, according to these 5 major takeaways from John Solomon, who's joining our show momentarily, there it is. Perfect. The 5 major takeaways here. You can go ahead and stick this in your pipe and smoke it all the way to a James Comey conviction. He used personal email to conduct government business. He expected President Clinton would be grateful for the way that he handled the case. He directed somebody who was not authorized to leak classified information that's never authorized, to manipulate the media, and then lied about it. He took copious notes that proved that he knew that Hillary Clinton was using the FBI and the intel agencies to smear and slander Donald Trump. And then he went along with that slander and did everything he could to make sure that the Russiagate investigation was opened up and the special counsel was opened up. He did that through leaking more classified information. All of these documents were found inside of a burn bag in a secret room in the FBI. The evidence shows now that there are massive contradictions with public testimony. General Flynn, of course, responding to this. I've been looking forward to this one. Maybe we can book Flynn on the show tomorrow. I would love to just have Flynn for the full hour. Chat with him. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. A cursory inventory. What Flynn is sharing here is the filing that talks about where they found the documents. General Flynn saying, so on Inauguration Day in 2025, while millions of Americans were celebrating Donald Trump becoming our 47th president of the United States, scumbags inside the FBI were busy stuffing burn bags trying to get rid of the evidence of their wrongdoings. Wow, let's read. How did they find these documents? An inventory of a 9582 skiff revealed the existence of classified documents, including documents believed to be official records inside of burn bags, which appear to have been placed inside of the skiff around the time frame of the 2025 presidential inauguration. Who placed them there? A brief review of the contents of the burn bags revealed that some of the documents left behind have come from a collection of records held in certain unidentified senior government officials' FBI headquarters. Oh, baby. So who are the rats stashing the documents away in order to try and still protect James Comey? At least we get him now. At least we got him now, baby. We are locked and loaded, caffeinated, and ready to rock with John Solomon in just one moment. We got our blackout coffee here, piping hot. Is it my second or third pot this morning? I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, the only kind of pot that I do is a pot of coffee. And it's blackout coffee all the time. It's blackout coffee. And by the way, a reminder, this is a cup that cup still available on the Benny store. This is a cup that said what we wanted. This was the year 2025 when we made this. It said $2 gas. Well, what's the wall, secure border, no new wars. And mean tweets. We were right. Dude, we predicted the Trump presidency right here. Our blackout coffee filling that pot. Nice and hot, caffeinated and rocking our show. We got to have the energy to fight the communists. Blackout Coffee has been a longtime supporter of our program. Their premium small batch roasted coffee made right here in America. It is absolutely delicious. I drink my coffee black, so it better be good coffee. It's damn good coffee. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Damn good coffee for hardworking Americans with grit. Blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the real deal. John Solomon joins the show live now. John, how are you? It's an honor to have you on the show for the first time.
I have a sudden hankering for coffee. I'm going to be going and get my blackout coffee right after this, buddy.
Yes, it is something that has regularly fueled the show, especially as we were learning from just the news this morning and ripping through your article that breaks down all of the explosive details found in this new filing from the administration. You're calling it the boomerang because we wouldn't have gotten these documents without James Comey throwing a fit. Please.
That's right. Yeah, listen, he tried to play the victim card. I'm a victim, only being prosecuted because Donald Trump hates me. And Donald Trump hates him. There's no doubt about that. He's pretty clear about that. But that's not why he's indicted. He's indicted because his own emails, his own messages, his own handwritten notes show that his testimony to Congress doesn't match the contemporaneous evidence in his files. And there are 5 revelations in this. It's very simple to break this down. The first is the most ironic. James Comey is writing on a personal email account to a government employee conducting FBI business about managing the media, spinning the media, about his investigation into Hillary Clinton using private email for government business. You just can't lose the irony of James Comey. The arrogance of thinking, I'm going to investigate her, clear her, but I'm going to use my own private email to hide this. It really jumps at you. That's the first thing, that we now know it for certain. 2, he fully expected to be working for President-elect Clinton after the November 16 election, and he expected her to be pleased by the way he handled her email case. In other words, he was sucking up to the boss in advance. He just miscalculated like he did because Donald Trump won the election. Third, you clearly see him managing Daniel Richman, his longtime friend and at that time FBI special government employee, clearly approving the media anonymous contacts that he's having, particularly at the New York Times. That is a problem because Comey testified both in 17 and 20. He didn't approve any anonymous leaks or anonymous contacts with the news media. His own emails show it. He writes things like, "Good job, my friend," when Daniel Richman talks to him about what he just told the New York Times. Or later on, he writes something like, "Maybe you can make that guy smarter," meaning the New York Times reporter, you can spin him to write something a little bit different. He clearly was sanctioning media leaks and media contacts with the New York Times about the Hillary Clinton case, which he denied doing. Then you got the fourth element, which is his handwritten notes seem to show that James Comey knew about the Clinton intelligence plan, that intercept that John Brennan tells everybody about, including Barack Obama, that Hillary Clinton was going to hang a fake Russian shingle on Donald Trump's campaign house at the end of the 2016 election. That's important because Comey feigned any knowledge of it when he was questioned about it in the Senate. His notes seem to show he had pretty specific knowledge of it. And then finally, all this evidence is in things like a skiff and a burn bag. It looks like someone was trying to make these documents disappear. By the way, that would be a contemporaneous crime if the goal was obstruction. We need to know a lot more before we can make really good assessments, because you could burn the documents, but they could be preserved in the electronic system of the FBI. We don't know yet, but certainly there are hints in this filing yesterday that maybe there was a cover-up going on and that other people would be responsible. And if you try to cover up something in the skiff, there's a problem. Skiffs usually have a video. They usually have a passcode. And so you kind of know who's in the skiff and who is carrying burn bags in and out of the skiff. So that should be a crime, if it was a crime, that could be easily solved by the Kash Patel FBI.
So, John, my question here is, will these lead to superseding indictments for James Comey? Will this potentially be evidence that is brought in the grand conspiracy impaneled
great question.
grand jury in Florida?
Yeah. So it could be, all right, particularly if they can prove that people were in the skiff trying to get rid of evidence before Kash Patel and Donald Trump took over. That could become a superseding indictment. Hey, did Comey talk to people who then did that? How did? Why was Comey's handwritten notes there and not given to the Senate or the House years ago? So there are additional things in this discovery that raise questions about whether Comey obstructed. And so you could see a superseding indictment. Now, the revelation that he had these handwritten notes and seemed to know about it, I did some reporting last night. Lindsay Halligan tried to get that as a third charge against Comey. She failed. The grand jury wouldn't indict on that. Now, maybe there's new evidence that they can go back and recharge that. But they tried to bring that in as the third sort of count in this indictment. They did not succeed. But that doesn't mean fresh evidence and fresh testimony doesn't lead to that. And then keep in mind the reporting we did recently. We know that James Banker told the Postal Inspection Service that Comey authorized him to leak classified information, not about Hillary Clinton, not about Donald Trump, about another case, the Espionage Act on that, which that leak occurred late 2016, we believe. That's a 10-year statute, so that could be added later as well. So there are hints that Halligan and team and Kash Patel could bring additional charges based on the evidence we're now seeing.
What in the world were they doing not giving this evidence to the public, particularly, and I'd like to pop it up on screen. I know that it is in sort of this handwritten jot from James Comey, but we've done our best to decipher this. John, I know that you and your team are the world's experts at this. Most importantly, the date signals that they were preparing to drop this on President Trump as an October surprise. That JB, is that John Brennan or is that Joe Biden? Right.
I think JB, they believe is John Brennan, because Brennan was the guy briefing everybody about the Clinton intelligence plan. We know that from other documents recently released. So the current thinking of FBI officials is that is a reference to John Brennan. Whether John Brennan's at this meeting briefing Comey or he's getting a briefing about what John Brennan told the FBI, we don't know, but it does fit the time frame where the FBI was alerted by the CIA in detail about this Clinton plan intelligence.
So then undermine Hillary Rodham Clinton, and then something like consolidates with the system Hillary Rodham Clinton plan to tie it all to Trump. Hillary Rodham Clinton health. I think we know some of that, John, but could you please help us interpret and decipher?
Yeah, again, only James Comey can tell us what he really meant by these notes. The people who've read them and have the greatest viewpoint of all the evidence believe that what's going on here is that the FBI is looking at this intercept not the way the intelligence community looked at it, right, which is, hey, Hillary Clinton got caught by the Russians plotting this thing, and we should be aware that if we're going to go down this path, it might be a political dirty trick. That's what the professional intelligence people believed, and that's why they alerted President Obama in July 2016. They first alerted the top leadership of the intelligence community in August, and the FBI even gets more detailed information in September. The FBI is looking at it from a Hillary Clinton favorable way, which is, oh, the Russians are going to try to hurt Hillary Clinton by having this information. Now, think how silly that is. They're more worried that this would embarrass Hillary Clinton if the Russians put it out there than the fact that maybe this plan is actually corrupting the FBI and the intelligence committee. It gives you some insight into how James Comey and the top of his team thought. They weren't thinking about the American people. They were thinking about how to spin this, that the bad old Russians were going to hurt Hillary Clinton with her own words.
How does this tie to the infamous Obama meeting where Joe Biden was present, where allegedly General Flynn, they put a mark on Flynn, and where they talked about accelerating Russiagate?
Yeah, so I think that that's where you start to look at the grand conspiracy. All right, they find out Hillary's going to do this dirty trick. They start investigating anyways. They get FISAs under false pretenses. That all happens before the election. Then after the election, when, oh my God, Donald Trump has won to the great amazement of James Comey. Why do I say that? Because James Comey's own email says he expected to work for President-elect Clinton. So it must have been a shock to him that Donald Trump's in office now. They're now looking for a way to hamper Donald Trump's beginning of the presidency. And so the first hampering occurs in December when John Brennan dismisses the experts in the CIA and elsewhere who want to argue that Vladimir Putin did not have a favored candidate in the election. He was just causing the normal mischief Russians always do in elections, which is to have Americans doubt their system. They want to come to a different conclusion, which was that Putin was really trying to help Donald Trump get elected. Now that conclusion, which John Brennan manages with James Comey's help to get out there before Donald Trump becomes president, is based almost entirely on the Steele dossier. We know that Steele dossier, which was a completely discredited document. And by the way, it was discredited before the CIA made that conclusion. But John Brennan and James Comey are the two driving forces in that intel assessment, and they flip around the intelligence community's assessment. Now, career people had a good reason for pointing out or believing that Vladimir Putin didn't have a preferred candidate. Why? Because in October of 2016, when most people are making up their minds, Vladimir Putin stopped his active measures in the election. He stopped the normal things he did. So he didn't weigh in one way or the other at the moment when you might want to most help your favorite candidate. So the CIA career people had a good reason for believing that Vladimir Putin wasn't trying to help Donald Trump. But that doesn't matter to John Brennan and to James Comey. They hijacked it. They canceled the old finding. They started a new finding. They cut out 3/4 of the rest of the intelligence agencies because they're not going to sign on to us. And they drive a fake conclusion that comes out in early January that Vladimir Putin was trying to help Donald Trump. And as that's coming out, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Comey and others are in a meeting with the president on January 5th, 2017, and they're trying to figure out how they can take out Mike Flynn, who by that time has been cleared by the FBI. The FBI had recommended shutting down their investigations of Mike Flynn because they did not believe the incoming national security advisor did anything wrong. But that doesn't matter to Barack Obama, Joe Biden, or others. They're concocting ways to actually take out this guy at the start of the presidency and hurt Donald Trump further. So that's where you start to see this conspiracy. It wasn't just a pre-election dirty trick. It's now an effort to hamper the presidency and the top people in the government. Barack Obama, James Comey, John Brennan, Joe Biden are all concocted. Joe Biden's trying to concoct the idea, according to the notes from that meeting, of using the Logan Act, which nobody thought was a realistic way. One of the FBI officials who's familiar with that meeting writes in his notes afterwards, what is our mission here? Is it to get the truth or to try to lure Mike Flynn into a lie so we can prosecute him? Even the attendees felt uncomfortable what was going on in that meeting. That's when you start to see a larger conspiracy, not only to undo the will of the American people before the election, but to hamper their duly elected president by hanging fake shingles on the start of his presidency.
John, I know that we're here to talk about James Comey, and I know you've done such extraordinary reporting on this at Just the News. But if you don't mind, can we take a quick detour to John Brennan,
sure,
who is publicly wandering around D.C. into metro stations like a belligerent homeless man, screaming at people, getting in fights, and making a real ass of himself. And there are multiple videos of this where he's pushing a finger into someone's chest, calling them out for his lies about the Intel experts, 51 Hunter Biden laptop experts. He's getting into yelling matches with people at Q&As. He's lying to reporters at metro stops. There is a series of John Brennan, as the kids would call it, crash outs that are happening throughout Washington. What's going on? Have you found John Brennan sleeping under a pile of newspapers at your local bus stop, John?
I have not. I've found him mostly lawyered up. I think he's working with his lawyers in preparation for potentially being indicted because Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Committee, sent a pretty detailed and carefully written criminal referral that really lays out a real criminal case against him. Now, the grand jury still has to look at it. The prosecutors still have to evaluate it. But he's feeling the heat. And I think there are two heats he feels. One is, hey, I might have to go through a criminal trial and spend lots of money on lawyers like all the people who falsely went through those investigations during the Russia collusion case that he and Comey helped kind of create as a mirage. But there's a second part of this too. John Brennan really cares about his legacy as an intelligence leader, as a CIA, and that intelligence legacy gets darkened every day. We now know he and Mike Morrell were in on falsely telling the American people not to believe the Hunter Biden laptop when in fact it was a real piece of evidence already in the custody of the FBI and verified. He's now being exposed for someone who changed the conclusions of the intelligence community to falsely make the American public believe that Donald Trump was a stooge of Vladimir Putin when there was no evidence to that. That's what John Durham concluded under Joe Biden's administration. That's important to remind people. That conclusion came out from Joe Biden's administration. And he's the guy that before the election seems to know that Hillary Clinton is going to play this dirty trick on Donald Trump, and he doesn't stop it, right? He and Barack Obama and James Comey are leaning into it. They're getting FISAs, and they're making this look like. Now, in fairness, people below John Brennan were constantly raising red flags. They were warning the FBI about Steele, but James Comey wasn't going to listen to that, or his team wasn't going to listen to that. They plowed ahead. I think that legacy that a guy who built his whole career to be at the top of the intelligence food chain may now be exposed as a guy who corrupted that intelligence food chain. I think that weighs heavily on him from the people who know him and see him quite defensive right now.
Yes, we'll pop it up as B-roll quickly here. John Brennan just losing his mind, behaving erratically, potentially violently, putting hands on people that are just asking him questions. Not a great look for somebody who is in charge of the most powerful intelligence agency in the world, many would argue. It seems like he is really breaking here. What would you make of this behavior?
He has a lot to answer for, and I think he's beginning to be asked questions that the legacy media refused to ask him. These questions should have been asked in 15 and 16. going all the way back to when he was spying on Congress on the waterboarding investigation. He spied on his own party, Dianne Feinstein then, right? There's real concerns about that. He didn't get really confronted then about it. He doesn't get confronted. Everybody bought his Kool-Aid in the legacy media, and so he got a pass for a long time. And this sort of confrontation, this sort of being asked hard questions and being confronted with your own evidence is something that John Brennan has gotten a pass on for most of his career. It's a different experience for him, and I have a funny feeling it's going to become increasingly uncomfortable as more and more evidence comes out. One of the things that I think President Trump could do a great favor to the country, I think he should declassify, the president, and release John Brennan's interview with John Durham. There was a long, detailed interview. I'm sure there's a lot of classified information in it, but I'd like to know what John Brennan admitted to behind closed doors. I think the public would benefit from that. I also think we should find out whether John Durham was allowed to interview one of Brennan's successors, Gina Haspel. I don't see any reference that Durham interviewed Gina Haspel. Did someone like a Bill Barr or Joe Biden prevent Gina Haspel from being directly interviewed by John Durham? I think those are two things that President Trump could give the American public that would open up a whole new discovery and a whole new understanding of what was going on in the intelligence community and who was being protected. Because quite frankly, all this evidence that we're getting now, Benny, was available for Bill Barr and John Durham and others to make public before the 2020 election. They failed to do so. And I think that we ought to know why that is. Why did we not get more transparency before voters went to the polls in 2020? It took us to 2025, 3 presidential elections later, to find out what really happened in 2016 in the beginning of the first Trump presidency. I think that's unacceptable to most people in the American public.
Entirely. Why should it take a decade in order to see what's happening on our dime and being done in order to rig elections? And we started off with a rant on this, and it's just how I'd like to just conclude here,
Sir?
John, with your takeaway. You know, what does this say to the American people? It really does say, especially the sort of groveling and grotesque, like, I'm sure that President-elect Hillary will love my actions here. It really does confirm that every single time that President Trump articulated that the deep state rigged an election against him, that he was correct. And that these agencies, the most powerful agencies, intelligence agencies on earth, were used to manipulate and to try and claw back into the hands of bureaucratic DC power from the American people, who was foisting upon them a populist candidate, Donald Trump, to lead the nation. And I don't think there's any other interpretation or takeaway here. But John, you're the expert.
Well, listen, it's election day, so everyone who's voting today in New Jersey or Virginia or California or wherever you cast your ballots, keep in mind that this thing that we've exposed from 16 to 24 is what the Democratic Party and its funders want to make the norm in America. And by the way, it's highly abnormal to the American experience. Before 15 and 16, we never saw institutions like the FBI, the CIA, the ODNI, and other places act this way. We didn't have FBI directors who were actually trying to put their thumb on an election scale. And it started in 16, and a lot of people on the left and some of my colleagues and me said, well, it was an aberration. As soon as Comey got out, it didn't happen again. And the truth of the matter is it got worse under Christopher Wray. This continued to fester under Wray. I had a great story the other day. In the late fall of 2020, the FBI got 2 pieces of information. One is solid intelligence that China might be trying to mail in fake ballots to help Joe Biden win the election. They canceled that investigation. Then at the same time that's coming in, the Washington field office of the FBI was trying to go through all of Donald Trump's campaign finance reports, trying to find something to investigate. And 2 weeks before Election Day, they go, oh my God, we found a guy that worked as a vendor. He got paid and he went gambling. We should look at that. Maybe there was a crime there. Someone taking their paycheck to gamble, one could argue whether it's a good idea or not. It doesn't seem like a crime. They were trying to investigate that in the final 2 weeks of the election. What does that mean? Turn a blind eye to Democrats, just like they did on Hillary Clinton, and go after Trump, even if the evidence is really weak. That modus operandi continued in 2020. Now, the American people interrupted it in 24, but you know what? If they don't vote that way and continue to sort out these issues, the guys who did this, the next generation of them are coming back, and they're going to corrupt this American system more. Our votes matter more than ever when you're starting to trade. These are the sort of America we're choosing between one that weaponizes and one that tells the truth. And the American people have to decide which one they're going to live in.
Yeah, I mean, you bring this up, such important reporting at Just the News about the 41,000 different voter IDs in the critical swing state of Wisconsin that have absolutely no matching to state identification, driver's license, and so on. Again, this is pretty shocking, John. I don't mean to monopolize your time or belabor this, and let's put up John's social media, but if you wouldn't mind, what is the remedy here for a voter roll so toxic like that?
Well, it's really clear. The president and Harmeet Dillon and Pam Bondi and others in government, the Homeland Security Department, made it possible for every state now to take their voter rolls and compare them against the citizenship logs and to make sure that someone is a citizen before they vote and they're not registered in two places, that they're not in Wisconsin and also in Florida or Wisconsin and Georgia. That is such a simple thing to do. It is such a confidence building measure in the United States. Only a few states are willing to look at it. Wisconsin and others have tried to resist looking at these things and cleaning their voter rolls because dirty voter rolls seem to be in the interest of the Democratic governors and election regulators who run a lot of these states. Most Americans say, yeah, don't cheat, don't let non-citizens vote. That's a simple thing we can all agree on. The Democrats don't agree on that. And I think what you saw in that audit that private group did because the state didn't do it is the problem. Now, we had Harmeet Dillon. She's the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Liberties on our show the other day. She oversees election integrity. She's got 8 lawsuits against blue states trying to force them to follow the law on cleaning up their voter rolls, on making sure that when people raise election integrity issues, they get addressed like HAVA, the law says, the Help Americans Vote Act requires. She's starting to hold the feet to the fire of these states, and there could soon be a penalty. The pulling of election funds, election monitors, maybe court intervention in some of these states that won't do it. But just like having a FBI with their thumb on the scale, you got some election regulators trying to keep a dirty system where cheating could be more prevalent. I'm not saying that they're allowing cheating to happen, but they certainly are making the circumstances better. Those are things that you're voting on when you go to the polls right now. These are the type of different visions for America that the left and right currently have.
Absolutely shocking. I hope that they do that investigation into Chinese mail-in ballots. I feel like that would actually make a ton of sense when you look at the bar charts, John. What happened? Where do these 20 million ballots come from in the year 2020? And then boop, it goes right back down, right? 52 million votes. That's the cap for Democrats, right? It's like,
well, listen, I think you're right, Benny. And listen, no matter what happened, we owe the American people answers. Yes. And that's why just a couple days ago, the Justice Department just compelled Fulton County to give us the 2020 election records that Georgia has never been able to make public. That's an interesting thing. We're getting answers, no matter how these turn out. We'll grow confidence in the system by knowing the truth. And if there's wrongdoing, we punish it. We make examples of the people. If not, we move on. But we move on with the knowledge of knowing there are no more unanswered questions. Democrats in the legacy media and the election regulators have tried to leave us in the dark on legitimate issues. This administration now, really just as a reporter, not picking sides, not cheering on one side or the other, they're trying to get the American people answers, whatever they are. And I think that's going to be appreciated by most middle voters who probably don't get measured in the polls, but they care about this stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Solomon, I would argue one of the single wisest men in Washington. Rocky and dusty mountains and then the high hills of California, looking over the scraps of what has been laid to waste and the Democrat corruption. His name is Darrell Issa. He's a legend on the Judiciary Committee. He's getting loaded up and set right now. He'll be joining our show in just one moment. American Financing can ensure that you are not in financial slavery, that you are out of high-interest credit card debt. It is a great feeling to be out of debt. It is a terrible feeling to have debt that is skyrocketing, sometimes with interest rates in the 20s and 30s. Again, I believe that should be illegal. It's usury rates. I hate it. You should refinance, and my friends at American Financing can help you out. Go to American Financing right now. Their salary-based mortgage consultants can help you today at 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219 at americanfinancing.net/Benny. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope the California Condor was the right way to call it. What else should we call Daryl Issa. I don't know, man. Maybe the Viper, right? If you know the deep lore, you'll know that one. Daryl Issa, ladies and gentlemen, live now. The Viper, Congressman. The Viper.
Well, Benny, fancy you should mention that.
I didn't know that. For everybody watching live, I can confirm I've been in the studio with Klein all morning. We didn't know it. He's got the Viper jacket on. That's amazing, Congressman.
And Benny, and I only have one jacket that I had made that way, but today was the day to do it for you. Whether you're biting like a viper, strangling like an anaconda, or just a watchdog, it's got to be a great day to see the ultimate in hypocrisy. The man who went after and caused the indictment of so many innocent people to be hoisted on his own petard as we speak, to be seen in his own handwriting, writing things which he then denied that he did before Congress. It is a day to say, you know what? Be careful how self-righteous you are when you go after other people and then say how pure you are, because James Comey right now is in the spotlight, and rightfully so.
Yeah, let's talk about that handwriting. Obviously, you are well aware of Hillary Clinton and her capacity to lie and to manipulate the media. You've seen it firsthand. You've investigated it firsthand. And so I want to focus in on this little box right here. I think there's a lot of questions about this and what James Comey meant. But clearly, according to all the extemporaneous reporting, plans to tie President Trump to dirty Russia collusion is what was being talked about way before we ever thought that it was being talked about here on September 26th of the election year of 2016. This is damning, Congressman.
Well, it is. And I want to contrast the two. I'm not sure that Hillary knew truth versus lie. So mens rea may not apply to her because she just doesn't understand what the truth is. Comey spent his career knowing what was and wasn't admissible, what was or wasn't a false statement. And he went after plenty of people for perjury when, in fact, things like this handwriting and other parts of the text thread we're seeing make it clear that he knew he was telling something that wasn't true, misleading Congress, and that is a felony.
What would be the way to investigate this from a congressional perspective? Because I think there's a lot of now new questions about James Comey. Will we see superseding indictments potentially for some of the leaking of classified information? Is there further investigation to be done by Congress here? JB has just, that's not Joe Biden, that's John Brennan. Is Brennan going to be before your committee anytime soon? He's somebody who's still walking free.
Look, we're going to continue to do our parallel investigation, but remember, ours is a legislative investigation. It's about finding out what went wrong in the system, finding out how we prevent it in the future, holding people accountable. Ultimately, it's up to the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to do their job. And so we're going to make sure that we stay in our lane, but our lane does require that there be disclosure to anything that is not prohibited from being disclosed based on an ongoing criminal investigation. And in this case, we want to make sure that it's only that's being withheld, because the American people have a right to know that President Trump had much of his first 4 years destroyed by a well-planned attack against democracy, one that limited much of his ability to get things done, because he and his entire staff were constantly dealing with these false accusations trumped up by people, excuse the expression, but put forward by people who ultimately did not want him to succeed, who famously planned to have this backup plan to stop him if he won the election fair and square.
This is such a great question for you as the Viper of Oversight and Judiciary, Congressman. And we're just going to go with that. That's obviously, we're going to make you your own custom stinger. By the time this is all over, you'll be like a WWE guy coming on the show. But why? Why haven't you been able to get this document? This doesn't make any sense to me. You've served in Congress quite a number of terms. This document is close to a decade old. Why is it just out this morning, Congressman?
Because unfortunately, when we subpoena the private sector, they recognize they have to comply. When we subpoena the other branch, they take it under advisement. And that's not just true with one party. It is an inherent bias they have. The Department of Justice, under all the previous presidents that I've worked with, have all talked about longstanding policies, not law, not any actual constitutional right, not to bend to the other branch that's responsible both for their funding and for their oversight. And that is a problem. And it's a problem that we don't have enough teeth in it. It's one of the things that in my long ago book, it's a decade old now, called Watchdog, we talk about is that Congress can make the American people aware of a great deal, but the actual teeth necessary to hold this ever larger and more opaque government accountable is relatively limited. Because our founding fathers, to a certain extent, believed that would be good faith. One of the reasons that, switching a little, James Comey is trying to get this case dismissed based on something that President Trump said. Our founding fathers gave the entire authority to indict and convict and to try people to one person, the president. But assuming that it would be properly overseen and properly delegated, which it certainly has been under President Trump, not so much under both Obama and Biden, who clearly were orchestrating at least their offices, were orchestrating the weaponization of the legal system.
So I guess the final question here on this topic, Congressman, would be what happens next? I don't think James Comey is going to win this malicious prosecution. And this was a legal bombshell that I'm not sure anyone was expecting. And I have to assume that based on his behavior and the behavior of John Brennan, they're panicking. Many have been pointing to this grand criminal conspiracy that has been impaneled in the Southern District of Florida. What would be your assessment on the next steps here as it pertains against a grand criminal conspiracy?
Look, I think Pam Bondi will get nothing out of James Comey until he's convicted. And we have to have faith that a jury in Maryland, very similar to the one that Hunter Biden saw, made up almost exclusively of Democrats, when faced with absolute truth of a crime, will do the right thing. There are others, though, and this is where I hope both Congress and particularly the Department of Justice will look at so many people who were not kingpins, but who know enough to help us with this investigation. This was a grand conspiracy, and there were lots of witnesses. Many of them are lifelong Democrats, public officials, but they saw it. And if you see something and you now know that it's going to come to your door, maybe you should go to the door of the Department of Justice and tell them what you know for the good of the country and, quite frankly, to get yourself out from the middle of it. Because there were plenty of people who knew enough that they also could be indicted. And their way to safety is, in fact, to help us bring this to an expeditious close with the true kingpins being held accountable.
Fascinating that you say that, because, Congressman, there's somebody who is stashing away these documents. Very mysterious. And that individual, if they're stashing them in a skiff, is certainly on camera, certainly punching in a key code. Trying to hide these documents is going to be seen as a crime, clearly, right?
Well, we'd like to believe so, but a crime is based on the willingness to prosecute and a jury to convict. What we do have is we have enough information, whether convictions occur in all cases or not, for the American people to understand that a party with malice and forethought, maybe not Joe Biden personally, because quite frankly, we're not, or Hillary Clinton, we're not sure of them. What we are sure is that they put together an organization that deliberately used the power of government to try to remain in power indefinitely. And when they lost power, to get it back through false allegations. Those are the kinds of things that undermine the basic honesty of the system that our founding fathers relied on. Our Constitution does not protect us completely against personal corruption. Only the goodwill of people, or people willing to disclose those with malice and poor intent, will keep us that way. And so that's one of the reasons that the things, podcasts like yours, and going as public as possible, we want people to understand we just want to get the balance of government, both sides, back where it should be. This should never happen. There should never be this kind of conspiracy, and it should never be allowed by people who otherwise wouldn't break the law to happen.
Yeah, a balance of government, I suppose, would be some type of check and balance against people who use insider information to trade stocks, people who stay in their position for 40 odd years, people like Nancy Pelosi, who allegedly is bowing out. Now, given the fact that, Congressman, you are one of the few Republicans elected from California, I'm sure this is, perhaps you have an inside lane on this. Any thoughts on this? I know it hasn't been exactly confirmed yet, but what are your thoughts on Pelosi parting?
Speaker Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, Paul Pelosi's wife, she is not the person I met decades ago. She's diminished. She is not listened to the way she once was, and she's out of favor with her own party. And that's pretty hard to say when you're talking about a leftist from San Francisco. So it probably is past the appropriate time for her to exit. But I do believe that we're going to see in more or less February an announcement of her retirement. And with her, she takes the massive amount of money accumulated during her career by her brilliant husband's ability to outperform Warren Buffett in investment somehow.
Yep, it's a pretty nice retirement fund. Sure, it would be a shame if she got investigated one of these days for it, or got to ask some questions about January 6th, but that's a topic for another day. Congressman, of course, we will book you for. Everybody follow Congressman. Representative Daryl Issa is sitting here with a plum 250,000 subscribers on X. You should be one of them. He's one of the people who fight for you. The Viper from the California mountains. Watch where you step. Daryl Issa, Godspeed.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump on over to, it looks like we have a, we're going to do a swap here with Mark. Is Mark set and available? Looks like he has a hard out. Okay, I want to jump over to Mark Mitchell very quickly here from Rasmussen, who is up against a wall. And I just want to get some of the takeaway polling from Mark on what are we going to see in the elections today, Virginia and New Jersey. Let's go. What's going on, homie? How are you? New Jersey. What's happening in New Jersey, Mark?
Well, it's a beautiful sunny day, and that, quite frankly, is probably not good for Jack Ciattarelli because I think that this is going to come down to turnout. I did a poll a couple of weeks ago, and I had Jack down 6 points. And in the Real Clear Politics aggregate right now, he's down 3 points. Now, back in 2021, the polling was 3 points to left, so maybe he ekes it out that way. And also, Atlas Intel just had Mikey Sherrill up only 1 point. Emerson had Sherrill up 2. So there has been some sort of like late race, like closing, but I don't know if it's enough. I really don't. And I think if it's a Jack win, it's going to be because independents surprised. I know right now, anecdotally, I'm hearing reports of very high turnout in Republican areas just from people I know. But it all comes down to the significant amount of independents in New Jersey and whether those have decided to sort of convert from Trump voters to Republican voters. And I don't know if that's really a given, just like with everything that I'm seeing nationally, because people are kind of frustrated with Republicans right now. I think that they perceive that they're basically doing nothing. And I don't know if that really helps you in a state that, quite frankly, voted purplish on issues of America First, economic populism, Donald Trump kind of stuff. But it is still a Democrat, like roughly plus 10 state. And I don't think that we've seen the significant number of people like converting in order to really get a Republican win. And so I guess we'll see. But the uncomfortable fact remains that in Virginia, in California with Prop 50, in New Jersey, not a single one of these races, even in New York, has ever shown like Cuomo or Ciattarelli or any of these people actually winning. There hasn't been a single one nonpartisan poll. So that's the reality. And I'm looking at it, I just kind of assume that it's going to be a Democrat clean sweep. And is that a big deal? Well, they're blue states, so probably not. But at the end of the day, also, I think it dispels the argument that somehow these places are moving more conservative. I don't think they are. I think that they were hostile to the Joe Biden regime. I think they were upset about COVID stuff, especially in New Jersey in 2021. And quite frankly, I don't think the Republican Party is doing the things that it needs to do to get this preference cascade where all of a sudden people think that it's a viable path forward for the future of the country.
So this is a fascinating, we've had Jack on, we've had many people from New Jersey who's handicapping this. And it is still a blue state. There are still, from a voter registration perspective, millions more Democrats who have been registered, but there's a large independent registration. I'm just trying to see what the path is here for Jack. And I did want to bring up one more piece of breaking news here, Mark, about the voting disrupted at polling locations. What is this all about? Apparently bomb threats at multiple polling locations, at least 10 across New Jersey. What's happening?
Well, the reports I've heard is that they were widespread, multiple places. I haven't seen somebody go through and reconcile if they were all Republican areas or not. I also understand that they weren't credible threats. They were apparently just emailed in, and then in many of these locations that they've been reopened. But Jack Posobiec's been following this pretty closely, and he called for the lawsuits to extend voting, because I think if Jack wins again, it'll be because independents turn red and Republicans show out on election day, show up. But again, if you look at it, people have been saying, well, look at Jack Ciattarelli. He almost won in 2021. He outperformed Donald Trump. And we have to look at that with nuance, because it was a much smaller turnout. It wasn't a presidential turnout. Jack Ciattarelli got 1.2 million votes. Donald Trump got 2 million votes in 2024. And so if Jack doesn't win, it's because he didn't convert enough of those presidential voters, maybe first-time voters, maybe Democrat crossovers, into showing up on an off-cycle election to come out for him. If he does win, it's because he did that more than the Democrats. And so probably the only silver lining here is that in the polling I saw, for instance, Emerson, when they have Cheryl up only 1 or 2 points, they have a very tight likely voter screen. They are reporting the results of only people who say very likely voters. Now, in my polling, I'm usually pretty close to Emerson, but when I had Jack down 6 points, I was including somewhat likely or at least half the time voters. So that's a much more loose voter screen. And so it's kind of better for Jack if he doesn't, the Democrats not turning out because maybe they're upset at the Democrat Party, but then we're in the middle of a government shutdown too. So it's just this confluence of factors. I think you'll talk to any pollster and they're like, I have no idea how it comes out today, but it's probably a 3 out of 4 chance that the Democrats are going to win it.
And they are blue states, right? So it's not. And when Glenn Youngkin won, that was a huge upset, and that was in 2021. Am I recalling that correctly? Yes.
Well, yeah, and where we were at, it's oh, hey, look, you're going to have to take an experimental vaccine. Oh, look, all the businesses are shut down. Oh, look, in New Jersey, Murphy was on the TV every day, being a petty tyrant, and businesses were getting shut down. And Afghanistan had just happened. There was very much a lot of blowback. Joe Biden had really bad marks among Democrats, and that's one of the reasons, again, that Jack Ciattarelli, I think, did it as well as he did. And I don't think we've talked about this on your show. There's a lot of hopium memes that the right latches onto, in my opinion, some of them cynically, in order to avoid having to do the things that their voters demand. And one of them is that this idea that Gen Z is somehow more conservative than it's been in decades. And that is absolutely 100% not the case. The only thing that's very specifically true is that they turned out in 2024 more than expected for Donald Trump. They are not conservative at all. And the polling has showed just mind-blowing stuff. We did one with the Heartland Institute that showed that 3/4 of Trump voters under 40 support nationalizing major industries, that almost 60% of them support confiscating excess wealth. Overwhelmingly, these people think the economy is not fair to young people. And everybody knows how jacked up the Zoomer generation is with things like the online debauchery, the horrifying dating scene, the de-churching, the corruption of the societal fabric. So I think these people want the system burned down, and they are going to go with the people they think has the best solutions. Now, if you look at New Jersey, saying New York with Mamdani too, because the young people really want this guy. They think they're going to get better solutions with Democrat socialists, and they gave the right a chance with Donald Trump. And I don't think the Republicans at all are delivering on it, because I think we can all look at the Republican Party of the last week at least and say, wow, they really sort of seem kind of like hung up on boomer stuff. You know what I mean? Things that just are not speaking to the young generation. Israel's a really good example. The polling on Israel is horrifying by age. What's weird is like 20 years ago, you would look and you'd see a huge political age spectrum where the young people are super liberal, the old people are super conservative. And then on things like maybe Israel as an example, they'd be a lot more flat because people are consuming mostly the same news source. Well, now what's weird is it's entirely different. The young people aren't that far from the old people on Donald Trump, but on Israel, only 21% of people under 30, when given a choice between supporting Israel or Palestine, will pick Israel. And among the 65 and older, it's 59%. So this is a complete, like one of the biggest signals that we have by age. And it's like, okay, that's what's been in the news sort of because of the right for the last week, on top of the fact that we have a government shutdown, on top of the fact that we have Congress that's doing nothing. And it's like, okay, Donald Trump's right to ask Congress to use the nuclear option, to pass bills, to do something for the people. And the Republican Party can't do it because they don't have the votes. And, like this is an inescapable fact for November of 2026, too, is that the rating of Congress is freaking horrifying. Like the marks are just, we're talking about independents. Only 3% of them rate the job that Congress is doing excellent. It's a Republican Congress. I don't know what to tell you, and like almost 60% of independents rate Congress as poor. And then Donald Trump's approval rating is down. It thankfully is up to -5 today. It was at -8 yesterday, the lowest of his term. And obviously part of it's because of the shutdown, but it's driven down by independents and the young people who have abandoned Donald Trump. I'll tell you what, like on your show, I'm pretty sure we talked about how the 18 to 39s thought that the second Trump administration was going to bring a golden age to America, and how he had a 60% approval rating among 18 to 39s. They were the highest approving age group. And this was back when Doge was going like hog wild on the government. Among 18 to 39s, he's at 18 to 29, he's at 35% today. And these people are also, incidentally, the people who are most likely to say that they want people that were implicated in the AutoPen scandal thrown in jail, 59% of them to only, I think, 17%. So it's like Trump's approval is down with the young people who want massive change, think the system is corrupt, think everything's broken, think everybody's interests come in front of them. And the Republican Party is not even on the battlefield. It's fighting different battles. And so, again, local politics, maybe that will win out. But local politics, the Democrats are running on resisting Trump. Trump's doing major sweeping things nationally. And the picture, it's not enough. He's doing great things, but it's not enough. The people gave the Republican Party a chance to support Trump. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's a problem and it has to get fixed.
I cannot agree with you more, Mark. And I'm not a doomer, and I'm certainly not a black pillar. And I do my very level-headed best to balance out sometimes the data that you bring on the show. But I appreciate it because, frankly, there has been a critical collapse in domestic policy and domestic priorities that Republicans have to get on board with. They have to begin selling and bringing forward policies to make home buying cheaper, to make groceries cheaper, to make the cost of living, which is always going to be the number one critical issue, to put more money in the back pockets of the people and the consumer. Yeah. This is something that is extremely destructive, but particularly for young people. If you're a boomer and you have 3 houses and you have $1 million in the bank, you're going to love the stock market. Yeah. But if you have no extra cash and you're having to do Klarna in order to order a burrito, right? You're having to finance your burrito order and your DoorDash order then this is something that is an existential crisis, and you'll lose the American dream in a single generation if you don't fix that. Yeah.
And not only that, I'll put another knife in the corpse here, is that it was given to them by Republican globalism. The global homo kleptocracy was ushered in hand with Democrats and Republicans. And I think it's very clear that everybody knows that. 18 to 39s, I think we have new polling coming out that I think is going to show 3 out of 4 of them think that house prices is a major crisis. One of the best things that could happen to these people is a major housing implosion. And that would be tumultuous, and every single big business person would be melting the phones down off the hook to all of the people that they've purchased in the Senate. But that would just be the best thing. And you can't really lower prices in an inflationary environment. It just doesn't really work. But what you could do is fix wage stagnation by getting as many people out of this country as possible, including not just the illegals. And I think people like JD Vance understand this, but it's like that would be anathema to the people who are entrenched in Washington, D.C. And I hate to sound like a screaming economic populism, but this is the future of American politics. And the 18 to 29-year-olds, would it be better if President Trump spent more time dealing with domestic issues? Yeah, 68% to 18. Like, that's the highest signal by age as well. So
send me the polling when you get it on housing, Mark. I'm gonna be working. I'm gonna be announcing some big things. We're gonna be working very closely on that issue. That is, I think, the key. I think that is absolutely the keystone to the American dream, either moving forward or collapsing in my lifetime.
Yep.
Home ownership, but particularly first-time home ownership, first-time buyers of homes, is a mark that is so low right now. It is the lowest that it's been in recorded history. If you're at 35, then your chances of owning a home, the data on 35 owning homes, 30%, man. It's down by half from just a generation ago. And that is a crash out on the American dream, unlike anything I've ever seen. And it's got to be fixed. People got to take this super seriously. I agree with you, bro. I want that housing data. Send me that when you get that polling back.
Yeah, we'll do. It'll be out this week.
Mark Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen, from Rasmussen. He's got hundreds of thousands of subscribers on X, where he just spits the facts, and you shouldn't be upset with him for spitting the facts. That's just is what it is. That's just data, okay? And it's our job to interpret that data and to fix it. So thank you, Mark. Godspeed, man.
Yeah, I'm not a black pillar. I'm a lookout. So I hope to see you on Twitter.
That's right, my man. See you, Mark.
Bye.
Yo, Mark, just like coming in over the top. We got Julie Kelly locked in, and Mark had a hard out right here at 11:30, and so we were just like, let's just kick over to Mark. I want Julie Kelly, who has been doing the Lord's work on the issue at hand today on the show. James Comey, Russiagate, Russia collusion, Hillary Clinton, 2016 election, the fraud that was sprung on President Trump. And I want to be able to have time to cook, ladies and gentlemen. I do mean what I say, by the way, about the housing market. I mean what I say about it. This is something that we are going to be putting an enormous amount of effort into fixing. You know, you can just do things, right? One of the things that you should do for your house is buy a Helix sleep mattress. Just top of the dome here. Really critically important. It's chilly season. It's cold. It's even cold here in Tampa. It's 70 degrees outside, and my kids go running outside and go, it's snowing. That's what they say. I'm going to take them to snow. They're going to learn this year. They're going to learn. They've never experienced snow. They're going to learn. They're going to learn what actual snow is. Let me know. What's your recommendation? Where should we go for them to experience snow? You should experience the benefits of a Helix sleep mattress every single night, like I do. And my children do, by the way. Helix Sleep is a mattress of my children. This is a mattress company that is the most awarded mattress brand in America. Reviewed by experts like Forbes and Wired. Free shipping and seamless delivery directly to your home. And the Happy with Helix guarantee. Rest easy with seamless returns and exchanges. Happy with Helix guarantee offers a risk-free customer-first experience designed to ensure that you are completely satisfied with your new mattress. 120-night sleep trial and a lifetime limited warranty. How long have you had your Helix sleep mattress? If you want improved sleep, like me, then go right now to helixsleep.com/Benny, 27% off site-wide. helixsleep.com/Benny, 27% off site-wide, and make sure that you enter our show name at the purchase to let them know that we sent you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Julie Kelly to the show. Julie, it is our great honor to have you on the program. I know that you are, as President Trump would say, hot as a pistol this morning. She's hot as a pistol. And I know this because Julie has been nonstop texting me because she's cracked some codes here. And if you don't mind, Julie, I'm just going to put up the document. And I would love for you to interpret this for me. Now, John Solomon just took the top lines. Everything that's highlighted in red here, John Solomon sort of went through. This is just the scribbles about Hillary Rodham Clinton tying it to Trump. The date and the logo. The rest is totally and completely open for interpretation, and I'm begging you for it now, Julie, because it's quite a hieroglyphic here. Help us crack the code.
Well, first of all, I believe that this is the first time that we learned about a meeting on September 26, 2016 with Jim Comey. JB could be either Jim Baker, the general counsel, or John Brennan, of course, the CIA director. Not sure who David is. Could be David Kaufman, who also was at the DOJ at the time. But look at the name. I don't think anyone has picked up on this yet. And that is Kerry. Kerry. Now, I'm clearing my brain because, as you know, I used to cover Crossfire Hurricane pretty intensely. But with all the other things going on, I kind of had to refamiliarize myself with the players and who. So the question is, who is Kerry? Doesn't appear that there's any woman who is at the DOJ or FBI or DNI or wherever named Kerry. But there was someone who was the Secretary of State at the time, John Kerry. And what does that say next to it? It appears to say Trump finances. This is Jim Comey's handwriting, and debts for Moscow. So was John Kerry in this meeting where they talked about the dossier in the Hillary Clinton campaign and DNC through Fusion GPS and Perkins Coie concocting the Russia collusion hoax? I think this may represent the first time that John Kerry potentially was involved in one of these high-level meetings to discuss the plan to smear Donald Trump with accusations of Russia collusion.
And the debts to Moscow is the Steele dossier. That makes up, that's sort of the undergirding of the Steele dossier, is that President Trump owes all these Russians money. He's trying to do this failed hotel there. They have all this compromat on him. And so that would be Trump finances debt to Moscow. That is the most lurid details of the Steele dossier, all of them fake, of course, but that President Trump is deeply indebted to the Russians.
Correct. And I think it's important to recall that a lot of the dossiers the peddling of the dossier actually went through the State Department. Christopher Steele, who originated the dossier, he had been hired by Fusion GPS to put this dirt together. Keep in mind what else he was doing at the time. You know, we're told he was this former MI5 agent and, very reputable British intelligence officer. No, he was a paid hack. Because not only was he being paid by the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign in 2016, he was an FBI informant, confidential human source, also being paid. And he was a lobbyist for Oleg Deripaska, the Ukrainian businessman who was in trouble with the U.S. government. And that's why Chris Steele, part of the reason he kept meeting with Bruce Orr, the number 4 at DOJ at the time, and his wife Nellie Orr, who worked for Fusion. I mean, we could go on and on. This is like the craziest web you could ever put together. But Christopher Steele was very close with a man named Jonathan Weiner, who was a top deputy for Secretary of State John Kerry. At the time, he was a special envoy to Libya, but he was close with Steele for years. And Steele would run his work through Jonathan Weiner, through Victoria Nuland at the State Department. But he was desperate to get John Kerry's attention and the State Department's imprimatur on his dirt digging into President Trump and manufacturing all these allegations, including Trump's finances and debts for Moscow. So a big question here. Was this Kerry is that Secretary of State John Kerry at the time, because I believe this would represent the first time that he, as I said, involved in any sort of meeting with Jim Comey, Jim Baker, or perhaps David Kaufman.
So the CIA and the FBI have been smeared with this, but the State Department has been able to escape a considerable amount of the blame for the Steele dossier. This looks like they're putting John Kerry, if confirmed, at the center of this. And this would be important because up at the very top of the document, and we covered this, it says Mitch, and many are suspecting that this is Stephen Halper. Right. Do you agree with that? And I guess the conclusion there would be that John Kerry, as the head of the State Department, the head of diplomatic relations for the United States, is going to lend his office and his credentialism to the Steele dossier being laundered and concocted by Stephen Halper and Anthony Downer. Am I seeing that web correctly?
Yes, because there was a separate dossier, I believe, that was actually produced by Jonathan Weiner, and in collaboration with Richard Blumenthal, a longtime dirty operative for the Clintons. So that gets into a whole other complex, convoluted side of the story. But there was State Department involvement in this. And yes, Stephen Halper, who was the CHS, the FBI informant, who, just ingratiated himself with people like Carter Page. His name apparently was Mitch. At first, I thought maybe it was Mitch McConnell, but I don't think even Jim Comey would have called him Mitch, So that was sort of Stephen Halper's.
I was crossing my fingers.
Was a CIA asset as well, Stephen Halper. So, but again, Benny, this just demonstrates the wide-ranging collaboration between top officials of the Obama administration, including Barack Obama and Joe Biden themselves. And what was happening on September 26th of 2016? This needs to be put in context as well. On September 23rd, 2016, Michael Isikoff publishes what is really the first story to break open the Russia collusion hoax. And that was September 23rd, 2016. Isikoff had met with Christopher Steele and Glenn Simpson at Fusion GPS. They were meeting furiously with reporters in New York City and DC at the time to pitch this dossier, to make it look like there was legit intelligence showing Donald Trump and his collaboration with Russians and this compromat, as they called it. So that was the 23rd of September. At the same time, top DOJ officials and FBI officials, Jim Comey, Jim Baker, et cetera, are preparing the first application to present to the FISA court, which they did on October 21st, 2016, on Carter Page. They used the Yahoo News article from Michael Isikoff as part of the evidence in that application. So this is just like the circular firing squad that enveloped both the president, his campaign, Carter Page, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, Mike Flynn, et cetera. So this is what was happening at the time. They were desperate to get this all together, to smear the president, to surveil his campaign, and then, of course, to cover up the continued outrage and scandal related to the Hillary Clinton email investigation.
If you are fully aware, and you're James Comey and you're writing this document, and you're fully aware that this is fake, right? That the Steele dossier is fake, and you know that Hillary Clinton is going to use it in order to sabotage the will of the people, and then you are going to a FISA court to use that fake document, and the underlying reporting of that document is something that you know is just a wrap-up smear, it's just a laundering. I mean, what do you call that exactly, right? Like, so he got nabbed for lying to Congress, but that's not what's happening here. That's not the real crime, right? People lie to Congress every second of every day. Yeah. There's something superseding here, something larger at play. What is it, Julie?
I mean, I think it's the greatest political scandal of all time. And Jim Comey is right at the center of it, along with, of course, John Brennan and James Clapper, who was the director of national intelligence at the time. And I think, Benny, this is why people are so frustrated with the new developments, and also all the disclosures related to Arctic frost, because people like Jim Comey and John Brennan, they not only got away with it, they became millionaires after this. Jim Comey, who was already very wealthy, Jim Comey went on a speaking tour. He got book gigs. You know, he was celebrated after the same Democrats who hated him, thinking that he blew the election for Hillary Clinton. Same with John Brennan, who we just saw him melt down last week. That was great because he knows he's in the crosshairs as well. But there has never been a greater abuse of our country's law enforcement, intelligence, diplomatic resources than we saw in 2016 and 2017. And there's John Brennan. He knows he's going to get indicted soon, so he's flipping out, which is great. But Benny, I do think the reason why there was no accountability for Crossfire Hurricane, that brought us January 6th, and it certainly helped originate Arctic Frost and then Jack Smith's two criminal investigations into the president. So there's a very long thread. And as our friend Mike Davis says, I think this is going to be the subject of this grand conspiracy investigation in Southern Florida with the grand jury has been impaneled. Looks like they're going to start to get to work in January. But it is imperative because they abused their power and they misled the American people and they attempted and almost succeeded in destroying Trump's first presidency. This was a legit insurrection, right? This was an internal insurrection between top government officials, the media, like Michael Schmidt at the New York Times. People really should check out this evidence because the text messages going back and forth between Dan Richman, who's person 3 in the Comey indictment, and Michael Schmidt, the New York Times reporter who's married to Nicole Wallace at MSNBC. I mean, this was a whole operation, very extensive and very successful, and almost succeeded to the extent that they wanted it to, right? Which was they wanted Robert Mueller to come up with criminal charges against the president and a lot of his team. And of course he did. So I know that there's a lot to it. I want to give a shout out to acting U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan because she has been absolutely stellar, a rock star in this. She came in cold. She had to deal with insubordination at the highest levels at the Eastern District of Virginia, resulting in the firing and removal of several top officials who are trying to thwart this indictment. She goes to a grand jury right under the wire, 48 hours before statute of limitations is going to run out. She gets this 2-count indictment, criminal indictment. And now we're seeing all the disclosures about what exactly went down, what has been hidden, what we weren't told by Comey, certainly FBI Director Christopher Wray. I mean, the dirty fingerprints on all of this just keeps growing and growing. So I want to give kudos to her, certainly the DOJ and FBI for their leadership here. And hopefully, Benny, more accountability is coming.
They never thought they'd be caught. And how cucked was the first Trump administration? They had all of these documents. They did nothing about it. No, Bill Barr didn't even look at it.
No.
And it's like you feel so, I mean, obviously Donald Trump doing great. He's the most powerful man walking the earth today. But you feel bad for him because you realize that he had his own administration was sabotaging him.
That's right.
And he had no friends in D.C. No one backed him up. Everybody
well,
bet
there
against
was one.
him, even when he was president.
There was one guy that we always have to give a shout out to, and that is Devin Nunes, the former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. They tried to destroy him and his family too. But for him and Kash Patel, who was his top investigative staffer at the time, they are the ones in February 2018 who really blew the lid off of this and demonstrated the financial ties between Fusion GPS, Christopher Steele, the DNC, and the Hillary Clinton campaign. And so, but to your point, your larger point is correct. There was no one who was supporting the president. I mean, he had to sideline Jeff Sessions. He recused himself because he was set up as well early on, I believe, by the Russian ambassador who was in on this as well, Sergei Kislyak. So every meeting that Kislyak had with any Trump campaign official or advisor, they were automatically tainted. Jeff Sessions, his attorney general, recuses himself. And who do we get in his place? Rod Rosenstein, who just took over from where Jim Comey and Loretta Lynch, Mary McCord, Sally Yates had left off. And so you're right. He had no friends in the Hill. He had no friends in his own administration. It's really shocking that he survived what he did. And this also is part of the basis of his $230 million complaint, trying to get back for damages and trying to recoup some of his own financial losses both during Crossfire Hurricane and Special Counsel Jack Smith.
It's honestly remarkable. What's to be made of this whack-a-mole gopher hunt in the FBI? I can't imagine what the hell's actually going on there. Of course, it's a hideous building, and you get bad energy just walking by it. It's a scar on the face of Washington. That FBI building. It is heinous, and it is about as ugly as its namesake. The Hoover Building is obviously named after one of the most duplicitous and creepiest FBI directors this side of James Comey. The point is that, like, how the hell are they getting away with throwing this stuff in burn bags? They clearly knew where it was, right? So you have to like extrapolate this out like a crime scene or a murder scene. They knew where the evidence was. They knew how damning it was. They chuck it into the burn bags. Tulsi's been on talking about these burn bags and how the point of them is to destroy the contents of these bags. They want to get rid of the evidence. They don't have the time to do it, or the capacity, or the temerity maybe. And so then they throw it in a skiff on a inauguration eve, 2025. What the hell is going on there, Julie?
Well, that is one of many tasks that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have to address, is why were those burn bags found? Obviously they were found, but why were they put there? I've had people suggest that maybe it was a couple of good guys at the FBI who tried to preserve it and keep it hidden, so they could then show Kash and Dan exactly where that was. But that's not my understanding of how they actually discovered that. Of course, same as Tulsi Gabbard has said at the DNI. I mean, you and I talked about this early on, Benny. People who are immediately demanding handcuffs and indictments for all the perps, from Russiagate to the Ukrainian impeachment, January 6th, the January 6th committee, and of course then Jack Smith. But what you and I talked about is how difficult it was going to be to obtain any of this information. I mean, I said early on, it's not like Chris Wray put all of this evidence on nice little stacks on Kash Patel's desk, you know, with little Post-it notes with smiley faces saying, here's all the information from John Brennan and James Baker and Jim Comey and everyone else. So that's not what happened. These are the dirtiest people, arguably, we've ever had in federal government. They know how to work the system. They had their own rank and file who are terrified of them, continue to do that dirty work throughout the Biden regime, especially related to January 6th. So this is what Kash and Dan are up against. So I think we're in pretty good timing here, Benny, that we're already seeing these indictments, Jim Comey, Letitia James, of course, John Bolton, more to come, because these were sophisticated, dirty, corrupt people. And they knew where they thought they knew where they could hide all of the evidence. And luckily there were people who found it, or at least pointed our current leadership in the right direction to discover it.
I just can't get over how nervous everyone's acting, how stressed out they're acting. John Brennan wandering around alone in at the Foggy Bottom metro station, sitting there like, playing, Fruit Ninja on his phone. And what a fall from grace for this guy. You'd have expect him to be under like a pile of, newspapers, right? Sleeping on the bench. He's in a bad way here. And it's really embarrassing. He lies to the reporter, Nick Ballas, who's asking him questions. And he's just kind of standing alone. It's like a public act of humiliation. You ever thought you'd see John Brennan, Mr. like high and mighty, let the 9/11 hijackers into the country. John Brennan, Mr. like, I am in control, I am the danger. Creepy little weirdo, like just standing alone with his pile of piss-soaked newspapers in the Foggy Bottom metro station. It's weird.
It's great to see. And look, it's really important to underscore that he really was the mastermind. I mean, look at his face. That's just the face of evil. He really was the mastermind. He started conducting those secret meetings in the Situation Room in August of 2016, where he said he was getting all of this intelligence. Now we know that the Steele dossier, really part of that information originated at the State Department. And so I think that that's another important thing to remember. But he was the one conducting these secret meetings in the Situation Room. Lisa Monaco was there. Avril Haines was there. Other top officials, Joe Biden eventually was invited into those meetings. What we were told was that this was so high level, so secretive, that he had to conduct these meetings in the Situation Room, turn off all of the monitors, any communications that would access that, so he could share this really tip-top information about Donald Trump and the Russians. Well, that's not what it was. They were convening these meetings to concoct this. Lisa Monaco, I don't know if I mentioned her, but I have to, because she again keeps popping up over the period of a decade. But John Brennan is really the one who masterminded this and put it together. We know he was taking marching orders from President Obama. We know that in August of 2016, Jim Comey met with Obama and told him basically what was going on. So if there's anyone really who should be held accountable for Russiagate and the constant decade-long smear that John Brennan has been involved in, it is that man right there, the former CIA director.
He is not having a good. He's not having a.
Gotta love it.
He's not having a good week, man. This guy is crashing out, and he's fighting people, and he's screaming on panels, and he's sort of standing around humiliated. I get all the right vibes out of this.
That's awesome. That's so great.
And look at him go. I mean, what's this like? This is like your 5-time divorced drunken uncle at Thanksgiving, right? After too much Manischewitz. And he's just like, yeah, right? And he's like, and you bring up you bring up the 1976 Phillies. He just starts erratically screaming and
anything to provoke. Right.
Yes. What a loser. It's amazing to see them fall off their high horses. Comey, all of them. It's just remarkable.
I mean, they never thought it would happen. They never thought this would happen. They never, ever thought Donald Trump would win, that they would see an FBI director of cash. They never in their wildest dreams thought they would be in the situation they are right now.
Where does it go next? In conclusion, Julie, this perhaps the grand conspiracy. Maybe you could start with the grand conspiracy, but is that where you predict this is going to go? Will we see more superseding indictments for Comey in this trial, in this case? The floor is yours.
We could see more charges in what you just said, a superseding indictment, which would be added to the top of the existing indictment that was handed out in September against Jim Comey. I think as they're getting more information, especially notes like this. Now, let's think about this for a minute, too. Not just a superseding indictment adding charges, but who are the witnesses going to be? I mean, now that they have this, we thought, okay, for sure, Dan Richmond, he's person 3, maybe some other collaborators. Okay, how about John Kerry? How about, Jim Baker?
You're the expert. Sorry to interrupt you, but just very quickly, you're the expert. Has John Kerry ever even been asked about this, Julie?
I don't think so, but I think that this is a good time to do so. And again, ask Jonathan Weiner, who, by the way, not just Jonathan Weiner, who is one of his top deputies, tight with Christopher Steele for years, produced his own kind of dossier. His neighbor was Peter Fritsch, who is the co-founder of Fusion GPS. He was Glenn Simpson's partner in Fusion GPS. So this just also shows just how incestuous Washington, D.C. is between top officials, government officials, members of Congress, members of the media. And this was the lion's den that Donald Trump was thrown into in January of 2017 and barely escaped. But people like Brennan, Comey, always thought they were going to get away with it. They never thought that they were going to be where they are right now. So yes, a grand conspiracy investigation appears to be almost underway in the Southern District of Florida. That's good news. It's there. Of course, we would never want it in Washington. We would never want it in a blue jurisdiction, Southern Florida, where the court proceedings in the documents case went on. As you know, I covered those in person as well. But I think really the center of that would be the August 8th, 2022 armed raid of Mar-a-Lago. So that must be kind of the eye of the storm, so to speak, in terms of a grand conspiracy indictment. And that could envelop dozens of former government officials and politicians in terms of, bringing this lawfare, this unprecedented, abusive, reckless, destructive lawfare against the president to destroy him and the entire MAGA movement.
It's not vengeance. It's justice and a warning to not do this again. And that turnabout is fair play, and that you just shouldn't abuse these systems because they'll be abused. They'll be used back against you. And I think it's such a critically important time. I really do. And I just endorse it so very much because, most importantly, they just never thought you'd see these documents. I'm bewildered. I asked John Solomon, like, why the hell has it been 10 years? It's been 10 years since that document was written by James Comey. That would have been a huge bombshell. Nobody released it. Nobody gave it to Congress. It's been hidden for all this time. It's time for that to end, Like, it's time to just be out with it. The truth shall set you free.
Yes,
the truth shall set you free. You'll find so much of it at Julie Kelly's X account. Look at that, 900,000 subscribers. Julie Kelly, on her way to a cool 1 million. Julie Kelly, just one of the most fearless reporters who has been on this story on her Declassified with Julie Kelly. You can find it here, her Substack. You should subscribe to this as well. She's just been the OG. She's the original gangster on all of this. Reporting on it back when it would land you in jail, actually, just to report on something like this.
Yeah.
And so we're thankful for Julie and her friendship to this show. Godspeed, Julie.
You too, Benny. Thanks.
Ah, yes, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time of day it is on our show. It is time to show you that this is the Christmas season. Yes, I know it is just November, but we want to make sure that you get in your hot hands on this election day, Tuesday, November 4th, 2025, our brand new Christmas ornaments that we launched yesterday. I wanted to launch them on the 1st of November. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are. The full slate, the full suite of the Christmas 2025. Do we have our Christmas music? Let's go. This is what we got. This is what we got for Christmas music? No. No, I asked for Christmas music. I need like sleigh bells and Christmas strings. Come on, producers. I know you can do it. We have subscriptions for this stuff. Anyway, we'll have a full Christmas thing. We embrace Christmas around here. So much so that we've actually created Christmas ornaments for you. Klein, please punch in. Thank you very much. You must see our new suite of Christmas ornaments available. You have the freedom flag. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of those who've given their lives for freedom. The Trump 2028 hat to troll all your liberal neighbors. The J.D. Vance. By the way, I can hold them up right here. I have them in my hot hands. Just in case you're wondering, do we make them? Yes, we make them. Yes, I have them. Yes, they are real. Right here. The J.D. Vance ornament. Feliz Navidad, Hakeem Jeffries. And one of my personal favorites, the Don't You Dare, RFK, holding the candy cane. Don't you dare. The election map, but county by county this time, featuring the Gulf of America. And you got to keep going. There you go. Got to keep going. The B-2 bomber. It's hard to see there. Hard to see. We're going to fix that photo. The B-2 bomber, peace on earth. Beautiful. There we go. Ah, beautiful B-2. Who doesn't want a Christmas tree with a B-2 bomber? And let's keep going. Ah, look at that. And here we go. The new additions that were not ready to premiere yesterday. President Trump out the window of the McDonald's, waving with Merry Christmas underneath him. Ah, come on, baby. Come on, that's so good. That's the one you want. And then finally, the Trump trash truck delivery with all of your Christmas cheer in the back. You got the Melania ornament too. But here's President Trump as Santa. Do we have Christmas music? Did they actually get Christmas music? Thank you. Thank you. Who sent the first track? What was it? What the hell was that? All right. Is this We Wish You a Merry Christmas? What is this? All right. Yeah. All right. Okay. We're doing the show live here, ladies and gentlemen. We're loading it up live. Okay. Thank you. And then Jerry's got one. Okay. Well, Jerry sends one. Oh. No, not the Jerry one. That one. That one. Okay. Play it. Run it. Run it. Ladies and gentlemen, all of these ornaments are available live now on our website. There we go. All right. Need some sleigh bells. There we go. Who sent that first trash song? I'm sending them a trash ornament. Garbage song. This is what I'm talking about. Yes, this is our Christmas music. Thank you. Very well done. Look at these. Scroll through them. If you order the bundle pack, you can get them all. You got 12 ornaments here. Get all 12. Got to catch them all. You get a free ornament if you order the bundle pack. But either way, unlike everything else in society, we have not increased the prices on these. We make them right here in the United States of America. They're made by veterans here in Florida, inside of warehouses and inside of manufacturing facilities. Oh, this is beautiful. That are right here in Tampa. They're made by our friends. We're actually going and doing a full video of how we make them and ensuring that you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that your money, your hard-earned dollars are going to Americans and not some dirty communist, Chinese slave labor Uyghur up in the mountains making these ornaments with a gun to their head. No. Enough money to the communists. This is for America. That is why we are making a point by keeping all of these ornaments prices $5. Every ornament is $5. Remember $5 foot long? I don't think you can even get anything off the McDonald's menu for $5 anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we win. We prove that you can make things in America again, and we prove that you can support American veterans and manufacturing while you do it. Oh, I want to keep the music running, Klein. Sorry, we got to keep this. We got to keep the music going. What is it? We Wish You a Merry Christmas? Is it this? Okay. Good. Yes. This is the music that we play when we talk about the Christmas ornament. We're doing it live. We're doing it live on the show. I cannot believe it, but we've already moved nearly 6,000 of these ornaments, and it's only been up for about 8 hours. So get ready and get them now. Go get them right now. Klein, I want the music to keep playing. Yeah, let's keep the music playing. When I'm talking about the ornaments, we have our Christmas music play. That is how we do our magical Christmas segment. Here we go. There you go. Okay. Get them today. The link is in the description. Get the bundle pack. We're gonna be bringing some of these to the speech tomorrow. We'll be speaking in Auburn. I'll be bringing a bunch of JD Vance Christmas ornaments to Auburn and throwing them out. Why not? Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You saw us sort of build this in real time, and we're just proud to do it. We're proud to be part of the solution here and not the problem. You can make things in America, and you can have a very Merry Christmas with these incredible Christmas ornaments. You can do it for cheap, and you can support veterans and other Americans while you are building something. Okay, enough talking about it. I'm just so proud of it. I'll try not to bore you with a read on the Christmas ornaments every day, but it's just a thrill for our site, and we hope that they bring you joy this Christmas season. Bringing joy to Alabama. That's what we'll be doing tomorrow. Tomorrow we go to Alabama with Eric Trump and Laura Trump. It's going to be a incredible event. I hope that you can join us. We'll be in Auburn University. Link in the description for where to sign up. You can still sign up for this event. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been packing stadiums around the country. So go to Turning Point. Is the link in the description, Alex? Yep. Okay. Go to Turning Point and make sure that you are rocking with us tomorrow. It's going to be a wild one. Okay. What do the markets say about election night? We're not going to be live tonight for election night in New Jersey or Virginia. No offense to either of those states, but we got a bunch of stuff to do. And so we're going to we're going to keep it chill tonight. Let's jump on over to the markets on Poly Markets and see where we're at. All right, New York City mayor, the communist. Is he going to win? Yikes, 93-7. Oh, looks like Cuomo's doing a little better than yesterday. Fine. New Jersey governor. We talked about that all show. What's going on there? We love Citarelli, but he's sitting at 17%. Mikey Sherrill at 84. What will happen next? I don't know. Virginia governor. And this has been one that obviously the Democrat has led for a very long time. It was a miracle that the Republican won last time around. We'll see. And then the attorney general. Jason Miyares bumping up a little bit. Jay Jones obviously wants to murder Republicans and Republican children. So he should not win. Please, God, let it not be Jay Jones. But we'll see. We'll keep praying. Our verse of the day, ladies and gentlemen, will help us get there. Matthew 6:20. But store up for yourselves. In the script. Yeah. That's okay. We'll read the one on screen. Have I scrolled too far down? ALX will make the call. Which Bible verse are we reading today? Okay, how will we do that? When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to the evildoers. Proverbs 21. That's just a perfect one. Maybe it wasn't in the script. Maybe it wasn't corrected in the script. That's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a perfect verse for today. When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous and terror to evildoers. Let terror reign in the hearts of evildoers. It's something that is very important. The whole purpose of the government, actually, is to make sure that bad people are punished and that good people can live free and peacefully. So that's what we pray for, and that is what we hope for in our time as we do the only thing that we want to do on this program, which is defend this nation, this beautiful nation right there. This beautiful nation and the Gulf of America from the communists. And well, that is a constant vigilance. And why do we want to do that? For our children. We want to preserve this nation for our kids. That is the whole point. That is the whole goal of everything that we are building. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us in that battle. Thank you for joining us in that fight. Thank you for continuing on what was a, what are we looking at here? 2 hour and 10-minute show. Why not? Just let it ride, right? And a rocking good show. And so we'll see you online. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll still do the show tomorrow. But we have a series of pretty exciting events this week. We'll be doing the show. We'll be flying there with Eric Trump. So expect some exciting footage from the Trump plane. And then we'll be going back to Mar-a-Lago, doing more events, and then kicking up to New York, and then doing more events in D.C. So it's going to be an absolutely wild week. We hope you'll join us as we carry forward and do the one thing that we've promised to do: save the country for our children. That's the purpose of this show. That's the purpose of everything we're building here. Ladies and gentlemen, that keeps us going, along with fighting with you. So, it's your boy Benny. Keep on fighting. And remember, in the end, we win. See ya.
Come in.
You needed to see me. Oh,
Do you have a seat?
Do I have to?
You know, I know that I like to fool around at work. So from now on, what I would like you to do is just tell me, you know, when and if I cross the line.
Okay. Now.
What?
Because you're naked.
Not naked. Can you see my
True.
Listen, let's just cut to the chase. All right, mister?
Could you do the,
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.